Whoops. Welcome to New Earth Lifestyles. Hi, I'm Janie King. I'm glad you're with us today in Manchester, New Hampshire. August 22, 2014. Today's a call-in day. If you're interested in calling in and speaking with us, that would be lovely. And the number 603, well, it's on your screen there if it's a call-in day for you. So, I'm glad you're here. Beautiful day in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. And before we get started, I'd like to just shout out a thank you to Manchester TV for the availability of this beautiful space, and to John Eric O'Neill, our technical director, for setting up the cameras and the sound and everything for us. I also want to remind you out there that if you'd like to see any of the previous New Earth Lifestyle TV shows, I do have a YouTube channel where you can watch them for free, and you could just Google New Earth Lifestyles and that YouTube channel would come up, and all of my 2014 shows should be on there on YouTube. And also, if you know of anyone that would like to see the show at another time, if they're not able to watch it today, it does replay 3 other times during the week, and one time on Saturday morning at 10 a.m., Monday evening at 5, and Tuesday at 10 a.m. So there you have it. There's some logistics and some information for you. And today on my show, my good friend Bernice White, PhD, Dr. Bernice White. Thank you for joining us today, Bernice.
You're welcome, Jane.
I'm glad you're here. Another gong on that, talking about breathing.
Breathing, yes. Yes, we need to do that, Jane.
Yes, we
Constantly.
do. So thank you for joining us today, Bernice. And you have your doctorate in what?
Transpersonal psychology and psychotherapy.
I see.
Basically also metaphysics.
And metaphysics.
It's all combined, so yes.
Right. So we're on this show, New Earth Lifestyles, we're talking about new ways to look at life that can improve the viewer, or can improve anyone's life for joy, for happiness, for love, bringing us closer and closer to our God self, to Source, but mainly to enjoy while we're here in this physical plane. And that what you're talking about, and your credential and everything that you studied is right in line with that. That's why it was so great that you agreed to come on the show today to talk about what is from your perspective.
Well, I have done many things, Jane. I'm a Reiki master, and I'm a 7 Rays master, a Kamadan master, kind of, as they say, jack of all trades, master of none. But my main focus is basically thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Thoughts,
feelings, and emotions. Let's gong to that, because those are the main things: thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
And those are kind of housed in our physical body, our physical garment, if you like. And in order for spirit, which we are, to come through, everything has to be integrated. Our thoughts, our feelings, in order to function properly.
In our physical
body. And if our physical body does not function, it's not working together, spirit cannot come through into matter. Plus the fact, if it's not working together, it's a question of dis-ease. And when our body is dis-ease, that's illness. So, as I always said, and I joke with you often, Jane, is that between every thought, after every thought, there's a feeling. Behind every thought, there's a feeling. What we feel, we make real.
Let's gong on that one. Say that again.
What we feel, we make real.
Wow. Oh, there's a Berniceism. What we feel, we make real. And that is so true. Can you go a little deeper into how that, mechanics of that, how that works?
Well, behind every thought, there's a feeling.
Okay.
And as I was talking earlier, our feeling body tends to be a holy terror, because the brain, and I say the brain, I would rather say, I rephrase that, the mind.
Okay.
Because the mind is the mind and the brain is the brain, and the mind is the director. So behind every thought there's a feeling. However, the brain likes to shut this emotion, this feeling off, because the brain, the mind, wishes to be in charge. That's basically what I'm really interested in, Jane, is integrating all of them, so that we do not get sick.
And that's where we're all at, isn't it? None of us want to be sick. So integrating Say that again on my mind.
Integrating, basically we integrate the spirit,
The spirit.
the mental, the emotional, which all affects the physical.
The mental, emotional affects the physical. And so which part of that is the spirit?
The spirit is basically our I am presence, our higher self, which is the crown chakra. Those of them who know about chakras, it's the crown chakra.
Okay.
And we are spirit. And we come to earth
Mm-hmm.
to learn our lessons.
Right.
Because earth is a three-dimensional, is kind of, how should I say, a three-dimensional frequency. And it's a very heavy frequency. And
What do you mean by heavy?
well, the third dimension is a heavy kind of energy. That's the lowest three chakras.
Right.
And so when they're heavy like that, spirit can't come through into matter.
So why do you want spirit to come through to matter?
Because spirit is kind of the one that we call our intuition, our gut feeling, if you like. And rather than the brain, that's where the feeling body comes into. Spirit cannot come through if we shut it off.
True. And
when I talk about spirit, I don't mean religion, Jane.
mm-hmm. What do you mean?
I mean the spiritual self. We look at it, when I was taught, through many modalities, that the spirit, we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
We've heard that before, haven't we?
I'm sure you've had this.
What does it mean? I guess is what the question is.
And so in order to be effective on earth,
mm-hmm.
we need to have spirit come through us. We don't need to live out there
Right.
in La La Land, which is what most of us love to do, because it's not the real world.
Right.
In order to be effective in this world, we need to kind of come through into matter, into our lower chakras,
Okay.
into our feelings, our lower body.
Into our physical body, into our emotions and feelings, and into this
Absolutely.
physical body, and in such a way that is healthy, not ill, not diseased.
Exactly.
Right.
And, you know, as I always say to people, attention goes, energy goes where attention flows.
Attention. Energy goes where attention flows, and that's another Berniceism or a gonger. Energy goes where attention flows. So
And anyway, your attention, your thought, when you're talking, your attention is going to your thoughts,
right. So like right now you're talking, your attention's going to what you're going to be saying.
what I'm going to be saying. But however, the brain can't do it all. So we kind of open ourselves up as channels
Mm-hmm.
to spirit coming through,
Okay.
because we never know what we're going to say. I don't ever know what I'm going to say. I don't know about you, Jane.
Don't always know. I'm hoping it comes from the heart. But yeah, that's why when I'm here on the show, I open myself to let spirit come through me and be the best I can be from that perspective. So yeah, I know we all try and control that, don't we? Control what we're going to say, but can you really do that?
Well, it's not advisable, is it? We come from the heart. We're coming from our loving selves.
Well, many people would think it's advisable to know what you're going to say, but from our perspective of being more metaphysical, I guess we're in the more of a frame of not knowing what we're going to say, but having an idea of the feelings of it.
Well, in a show like this, you can never have anything structured, because who knows what comes up? We never know, do we?
No, we don't.
It's like everyday life. We don't know what today brings.
That's true.
We can just do the best we can
Exactly.
and enjoy every moment.
Exactly. That's what life is about.
So many people don't.
Right.
And I have so many clients right now that come to me, and they keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result regarding relationships and things like that.
Right.
As I do a lot of transpersonal kind of counseling,
Mm-hmm.
healing work and teaching.
Okay.
And it's interesting how the different ages is how we've been brought up, and how older people are so structured in their way that they're not really able to change. Or they don't want to change, or they're comfortable in their path, and that's okay. Whereas the younger ones, I would say in their 20s, 30s and 40s, they're absolutely wanting all this knowledge that we kind of give them, Jane.
Yes, the younger generation does seem to be much more open and receptive to new ideas and wanting new ideas to direct their lives by.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, so do I. And I think, like we were talking on the way down as well about normal and what is normal, and maybe it was somebody else I was talking. I can't remember if it's
No,
with
we
you
were
or not.
talking about normal.
Yes.
We were saying, well, what is kind of normal?
Right.
There is no right or wrong. It's only thinking that makes it so. I love that one.
Yes, me too. Another
Because
gong.
it's so true. It's so simple.
So say it again.
Say it again. Say it again. There is no right or wrong. It's thinking that makes it so.
There is no right or wrong. It is thinking that makes it so. And so we think it's right or wrong.
Well, no, we kind of, if we open ourselves up,
Yeah.
we're not going to do anything wrong, are we? Why would we do anything wrong?
Well, let's sort of
The mind will kind of say to you, well, you can't say that or you can't do that. Can't, should, won't. Why?
Well, don't we have to put like a caveat around that or parentheses, and that means where if you're coming from a place of the golden rule, say, then what you're saying is correct, is true. But if you're coming from a place of more or darkness or not desiring the best for yourself and others, that may not work, or maybe there is no caveat to that.
Well,
How do you
I think
respond?
all of us know people who live in negativity.
Yes.
And negativity basically is a very heavy energy because it's not kind of a light energy. Negativity is not a light energy. It's a very heavy energy.
Right, Doc.
Dark, yes,
Mm-hmm.
because we're from the light.
well, you mean human beings?
Human beings, yes.
Okay.
And we all know people who kind of are negative about, complain about this and judge about that. And what are the other kind of things that people do that are negative?
Mm-hmm.
And what that energy does, it's a very heavy energy. It affects you. It affects your mood. It affects everything around you. So it's awfully important for us, I feel, to kind of, it does leave all our problems, if we go to work, leave all our problems at home, because otherwise we're projecting our problems onto other people, which is negativity. Who really wants to be around a negative person? Doesn't it raise our spirits if we kind of are around positive people who are happy, people who give you encouragement
Mm-hmm.
and not criticize, blame,
Mm-hmm.
because they're ashamed of what's going on.
Right, right.
I mean, we don't
Absolutely. Who wants to? That's one thing I strived for when I did have a 9-to-5 job, was being upbeat and happy, even if my home life was not.
In today's
Because
world,
you want to give that to the other people around you, and you want to lift yourself up.
well, you notice it when you lift yourself up, people around you, it's infectious.
Yes, absolutely.
But then you people who say who are having a bad day and they're carrying that energy with them, oh, I'm having a bad day. I always say, well, get over it, because there's no such thing as a bad day. It's only what your perception is and what you're thinking.
Get over it. It's gone to
That's what my granddaughter.
Get over it.
That's
You
what
know
my
what that
daughter
is.
says, and my granddaughter said, get over it. Yes, it's true.
How do you get over it?
Well, because you usually get yourself some counselling, or you get yourself some kind of I would say, what would I say? Some kind of therapy to help you, because there's some blockage.
If it's
within.
habitual, if it's day after day
habitual,
after day, if you're not
you know.
feeling very happy or good day after day after day, because it's going to manifest physically, is exactly what you're saying.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
it does.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn by our own experiences.
Mm-hmm. So what, if I may digress a bit about looking at your, what drove you to go to, you went to Delphi University to get your PhD, is that correct?
I did, yes.
And maybe if you could back up a bit and just give us some background as to what initiated your desire to do this.
Well, I was a Reiki master, and I was a 7 rays master.
What is that? Now, what do those two things mean?
Well, it's all energy and light.
Okay.
I was always interested. I didn't really know why I was, But I used to see geometric shapes, I used to see light, and I used to kind of be fascinated by it. But they used to come and they used to go. The moment I kind of actually gave my attention to it, because the mind was trying to make sense of it, it would go.
I see. So you tried to
yes,
become logical with what you were seeing, but it wasn't a logical thing from your
No.
perspective of training, from our upbringing.
No, it definitely wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, there was something I needed to do. And a friend of mine said, there's an integrated awareness conference in Atlanta. And this was 1997. And so I said, let's go. So we went. And there was Dr. Candice Perk talking about molecules of the emotions.
Right. You got to see her speak.
Yes, she was
lovely.
because she has died recently.
She has?
Apparently, yes, she has passed.
I didn't know
She
that.
was, and she delivered the emotions so well, and she had such a persona about her. It got me thinking about emotions. So, also there, besides her, was Patricia Hayes. And Patricia Hayes is the founder of Delphi University. And one of the things she starts, it's very structured, Delphi University. One of the things she started was inner sense development.
Inner sense.
Inner sense development.
I see.
Where you kind of go into yourself and inner sense development. And I thought, I really don't know who I am. And I was
You don't know who you are.
No, I didn't know who I was.
So let's go on that one. Because who do we know? How do we know who we are? That's what got me to where I am.
We know, but we don't.
How do I know who I am? Who am I? And so that's what initiated you going to Delphi, going to Atlanta. Who am I? I don't know who I am. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, that's exactly. So much today. So I got really interested. And I started off with the inner sense development, which was kind of in-depth channeling. And it was fascinating. And after I had done that, I went into the metaphysical side, which was kind of talking about spirit, talking about God in a different sense to not being religion, but being our God selves. Who we are, our I am presence, how we see ourselves in the world.
I see. Yes.
Well, how the I am
So
presence sees ourselves and how we see ourselves is totally different. And I'm fascinated, so I wanted to go further.
Totally different in what way?
Well, the presence is the lower part of the body, but the I am presence is very different. So I was curious because I didn't understand this for the longest time.
And you understand it now?
I think so.
So please tell us. So
Well,
that we can understand as well.
Our presence in the world, which is the lower chakra, which is the root chakra. If we're going into chakras, we haven't
Okay, so
touched
there are
that.
7 major energy centers in the body, and there are the lower energy centers. They're all called chakras.
Right.
Spinning wheels or discs,
They're balls of energy.
balls of energy, and we have them from the root, from the sacrum to the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, or you call this the brow, and the crown.
Whatever.
So those are the 7 major chakras, and you're talking about the lower 3.
But what I was saying is that the chakras are kind of over every major organ in the body.
They're over every major organ, which means that they're like one over the heart, of course.
Yes, we have a crown chakra, which is above our heads, which is our light body, which is our I am presence.
Okay.
We have a brow chakra, and in Delphi we talk about that as the kind of judge. This is our judgment. We judge everything by what we perceive.
Okay.
And then we have the throat, the expressor. How we express ourselves to the world is through our throat, right?
Okay, yes.
Through speech. And then we have the heart, who's the one who cares. This is the loving self, the one who cares. Then we have the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is basically what they call at Delphi, and I'll explain later, the lower mind. But this is the kind of basically the intuition, the gut self. You talk about your gut. And then we have the sacral or spleen, whatever some people would like to call it. There you have the emotional body.
Okay.
And so there is, primarily in today's world, I find that primarily this is the base problem, is the kind of emotional body, we call it,
Mm-hmm.
digestive problems, feminine problems,
Mm-hmm.
all originate here.
Okay.
And then the root, that's what they call the presence. The presence, not the I am presence, your presence on earth in the world.
Your physical presence, so
Your
that's in the
physical
root.
presence.
And the root comes down between your legs and kind of comes up through your spine, or near where your lower, what would you call it, the coccyx or the tailbone would come up right in that area.
It does. And then basically, what a lot of us are kind of floating up here,
Mm-hmm.
in order to bring ourselves down to earth, we need to be we need to be in our lower bodies, which most of us don't like, because there's your pain.
What do you mean by the pain?
For the pain, emotions.
Oh, yeah. All your
Don't
stuff.
most of us in today's world have emotional problems,
Yes.
relationship problems,
Anger,
anger,
jealousy.
all negative
Grief.
emotions?
Mm.
In Delphi, we do a workshop, I do a workshop, where you kind of remove all the negative and replace them with the positive.
Hmm.
And that changes your life incredibly.
And what do you, so tell us more about what that means. The
Well,
negative what? You remove
The negative cells, we call them negative cells. Because
Selves, S-E-L-V.
Selves, S-E-L-V, it's a negative self, right?
Okay.
And there's kind of, well, we have many of them. We have the abandoned self, we have the angry self, we have all the kind of things, resentful self,
the
betrayed self, and everybody has them around them in various forms.
Okay.
Well, you, Jane, you know a lot of that because you do hypnosis and regression.
I do. Mm-hmm.
And I think possibly you understand why it's advantageous for us to have hypnosis sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been my experience, a lot of people want to have hypnosis or altered state because they want to find out what they were in a past life. Well, really, they haven't dealt with the life they've been given this time.
Right.
So my belief is that you have to deal what you've been given with this lifetime.
Right now. Yeah.
Right now, starting when you were conceived in the womb.
Starting with conception, and lots of times that's the beginning of whatever's going on that you don't like. Beginning of your so-called negative emotions, or your
What we
the
conceive,
wounding,
we will achieve.
That's right. What we conceive, we will achieve. What we conceive, we will achieve.
Oh, it's a big one, isn't it?
It's a big one, because what can we conceive of? All kinds of. That's our thought process.
Well, you conceive, if you put it to reality, when you conceive a child, ultimately you get a child.
Ultimately, true. Now that brings us to another question that maybe you can talk about, and that is conception. At the moment of conception, before the moment of conception, there is a thought or an intention for two people to create a
Yes.
baby,
Yes.
a child, or a being. And so the beginning of us is really in that thought process. The beginning of the child, the beginning of me. My beginning was not at the point of conception, and not in gestation, and not in birthing, but in that intention of two people to conceive. Would you say that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But that opens up another topic in as much as when we are conceived, when we are in the womb,
Mm-hmm.
we are taking on not only past, those of us who know there is past lives, we're not only taking on all the negative stuff from a past life, but we're taking on our mother's thoughts and feelings.
Yes, during the whole gestation period in the womb.
So when we're born,
Mhm.
we come into life not only with our own stuff that we have had from a past life,
Mm-hmm.
we're taking on what our mother, who was carrying us, was thinking and feeling.
And having, yes, whatever emotions she went through for 9 months.
Exactly. I happened to be a wartime baby, and my mother felt abandoned because my father left to go in the army with his fellows, platoon, whatever you call them, kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Uh-huh.
And it created, I realized, going through Rohan, it created huge problems in me as an only child.
And what way? What kind of
Well,
problems?
my mother felt abandoned,
Right.
and that kind of created something. My mother was resentful,
Okay.
She was angry because he had left.
Right.
I
with,
came
with
in,
her with a
and
child.
I didn't realize I came in with all these emotions.
These emotions of abandonment, of resentment,
Anger.
from your mother.
Exactly.
So
Let alone what I had brought in from other lifetimes.
Okay.
And you think we've probably had, most of us have had about 700-800 lifetimes. That's a lot of baggage we're bringing in.
It's a lot of baggage.
It's a lot of baggage.
So some people think we've lived for many lifetimes, more than 800, but is that Rohan teaches you?
Could do. Who knows? But that's the least we've had.
At least 800.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of coming and going, of going in and out of the womb.
Exactly. And remember, it's
When
the
you
same.
think about it.
I remember it's the same spirit. So spirit, the I am presence is coming through all the time to learn its lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and to help you kind of get over this.
Right, and so that's where I am at too, and you feel like you're in the same framework, and that is that we come through. Our spirit lives forever, and we come through into a physical body over and over to become closer and closer to our God self, to the I am, what you call the I am presence, or the
Right.
source energy that we all are. And when we leave the physical body, we take the lessons with us from this physical lifetime, and then we find another we're conceived again another time to continue that process.
The same spirit, but a different physical body.
The same spirit, and when you say spirit, I guess you're talking about an energy, a vibration.
Well, spirit, I am presence, it kind of goes, when we...
So it kind of analogous to God?
Well, it's how God's self, people have different perceptions of it, according to how they've been taught or what their belief system is.
Right, right.
The I am presence has kind of been going on since St. Germain's Foundation.
St. Germain's Foundation is, what is that?
That's a foundation that talks about metaphysical and channeling and various things. I don't know a lot about it, but I just know that there is one.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't my forte. I was kind of structured in the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned, I'm also kind of listened to and a student of the Radiant Rose Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Which is out of Vancouver in Canada.
Okay.
And my belief system is we're never too old to learn. There's always something that we can learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it fascinating. So when I say jack of all trades, master of none, we take what we learn, which works for us, and then we disregard the rest.
The rest. So that this Radiant Rose Society, is it?
Radiant Rose Academy. Yes.
What is the premise
It's basically
of that?
channeling. They channel ascended masters.
Channeling.
And, Jesus and Mary and Jesus' grandmother Anna. And it goes back to the House of David.
I didn't know they knew Jesus' grandmother. But of course, Mary and Joseph had parents. I never got a conception of that.
Well, we have to do another time, Jane, because this is going into the metaphysics, which is another fascinating thing.
Right, and so we were talking about what brought you to Atlanta and Delphi.
Well, I started off with the inner sense development. Then I went
into
inner sense development. Then I went into the metaphysical side.
And tell me about the inner sense is about your inner knowing. Okay.
Yeah, it was basically realizing, clearing a lot of the. When I went there, they don't do it now, but when I went there, we had to go through Rohan in order to get rid of our negative stuff to be able to absorb a lot of the channeling and automatic writing.
The information from your I am presence.
Yes, allowing spirit to come through us and not to block it by thinking of old paradigms, what we're taught as children.
So can you give us some examples of what the negativity was that you might have released?
Well, a misconception, for one, and apparently it is quite a lot. Misconception was that I was angry and didn't understand when Jesus, who was the Son of God, was crucified on the cross.
You were angry about that.
Well, because I have had some lifetimes as an Essene with that, as many of us have, especially the ones of us who are interested in being regressed back to find a lot of this in this. So this is where I'm not a churchgoer. I believe tremendously in God and the gods, and I think you can pray at the beach, in the garden, in your home, wherever you create your sacred space. My belief, as a spiritual being, is not to go to church and be told what I should think or what I should do, and to kind of be dictated to,
Mm-hmm.
because that's control.
Mm-hmm.
And what spirits want to do is to be free. Us as spirits wish to be free.
Mm-hmm.
We are, and you heard the expression, we talk about it, free spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's my experience that the religion, they kind of want you to do what they think you should do, and that you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And when we come to learn a lot of metaphysics, we realize that the Bible, which is everybody goes by, has been changed and rewritten many times, and the meaning doesn't always mean what it did years and years ago.
Mm-hmm. Right, the translation gets lost, or the meaning gets lost in the translation.
You change a word and the meaning's totally different.
Right, and just the first words of the Bible have been construed based on the original language of Aramaic. I know that
Absolutely.
that just the
Because it got confused, or people didn't transcribe it. What it was, somebody transcribed what they thought it meant, not what it actually did mean.
right, and so it's sort of imbued with the translator's perception of what was meant.
We're talking about, yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. And so Rohan is what, an inner process of releasing negativity?
Well, there's many processes. There's actually 17 processes in
Wow,
all.
17.
Yes, we have. We start off with the womb process, when the baby's in the womb.
Okay.
How the baby feels, how you as the baby, you go back to that.
Oh, so there's
It's
a
almost like
regression.
birthing.
Oh, wow. Like that, going back to when you were in the womb and re-experiencing yourself.
Your thoughts and your feelings.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Like we were talking about
Yeah.
with you with the hypnosis, when you take people back into the womb.
Right.
I think in this country they call it rebirthing, don't they?
There is a rebirthing process. Yes.
Similar.
Similar.
Something like that, yes.
And I think that kind of stuff kind of goes in fads, because right now that's not in vogue, I guess, in the New Age community as much as it was maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Because people want to kind of get to it. They don't want to kind of get to the...
Yeah, well, there's new
like
philosophies
Band-Aids.
around it nowadays about you don't really need to go there anymore. You just need to be in whatever's happening in the moment and transpire
believe that too, Jane.
transform that.
I believe that too.
Did you?
I do believe that.
Mm.
But if people are very sick, if people have got a lot of something that
Well, like
energy
cancer.
work,
Well, like,
cancer.
say if someone has
Well,
cancer, or is that too big?
we're going into another thing here, because I spent some time at Hippocrates kind of centre in West Palm Beach,
Okay.
and we then start learning about what the body needs. The body does not heal in an acidic state.
Okay.
An acidic body can create cancer cells.
I see. So you're talking now about
I'm talking about something totally different now, but it's all part of
more of the
and parcel
physical.
of
But
it.
again, it's the physical.
It's the
being
physical
in the physical
body,
and
yes.
the lower chakras, and the
So,
root. What you put in your body is what you become.
pretty much
Acidic, because the standard American diet, or what they also say the SAD diet, it creates acidity in the body,
absolutely,
and we want an alkaline balanced body.
predominantly alkaline.
Predominantly
At least
alkaline.
7.5,
Mhm.
at least, and most
Right.
of the stuff is that comes. But then we start talking about diet and what's alkaline and it's a balance. The
Right.
whole thing we are striving here on Earth is to be in balance.
To be in balance, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
you see, then we live in a world as tremendous stress.
With no
and-
balance,
And
totally stressed
stress
out.
causes, it doesn't matter what you eat, stress will cause acidity in your body because it affects the cells.
I see. Yeah, and a stress dumps into your bloodstream and into your system all kinds of
it
chemicals that would cause the acidity.
Exactly. So, the body is amazing. The physical body, everything is amazing because, the heart works, pumps the blood through the body, and then we have the liver that kind of gets rid of all the kind of
impurities.
And the bladder. So they all have to work together. We all take it for granted. But sometimes these darling little bodies, as I like to call them.
Darling little bodies. That's
Yes.
a gong to the body because they are darling little bodies. Can't do anything without a body.
It needs to. Well, we're not effective if we don't stay in our bodies. We're not effective.
Not effective, no. Our life is not very good if we don't stay in
No,
it.
if you know, how can you teach another, or how can you kind of live in this world if you're not present?
True. That's so true.
Because you're all over the place.
Right, and that's my
Scattered
modus
energy.
operandum was when I was growing up was to be way out here and be
So
out of
was
my
mine.
body.
It was
Totally.
lovely. It was less painful out there.
It is less
Wonderful.
painful. Yeah.
But you become scattered because
Yeah.
you're here, you're there, and you're everywhere.
And that sort of brings me to that place of when physical pain was not that hard for me. I could handle physical pain because I wasn't in my body. So people that can take a lot of pain, that's usually is a sign that they're not living in the physical
Absolutely,
body.
because they're not present.
They're not present. Yeah.
Then it brings us to another topic, Jane.
Uh-oh.
If we're not present in our body, then we can get spirit attachments.
Spirit attachments. Whoa.
So
I don't know
there's
if we've
another
ever talked
topic.
about that before on this show. But so that is because
Probably.
we are not in our body.
Because we're not present.
We're not present. And so how
We're
do we
leaving our
attract that?
body. We're leaving our bodies. People who are addicts, alcoholics, they drink because they're getting all this experience. They're drinking to be out there because it's too painful for them to live in the physical world.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, and they talk about when you get an addict, they don't sleep very much. They kind of their perception is in their own head. They call it monkey mind. The mind doesn't shut off. They're always creating something.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they're not present enough. And then what can happen is you can get some negative spirit attachments which will attach to this person because they're not present in their body. They're out there.
So does this spirit attachment, is it kind of hanging around waiting for
It's a negative.
something?
It's basically, Rohan teaches that it is a negative energy.
So this energy is negative out here, and how does it find this other energy that may be in the body?
Because it's looking to get somewhere into a physical, because it wants to be destructive generally.
Yeah,
Ghosts
really? Wow.
can be.
Now,
You can have good and bad ghosts, but you can be affected by them.
Mm-hmm. I see. Wow, that's interesting. So what else does Rohan teach? We said there were 17 levels.
Well, first of all, you have the purification process, and there's 3 processes in purification.
Okay.
And what we do is we kind of put them into an altered state, like a hypnotic state, and we work in the subconscious, because the subconscious knows everything,
Mm-hmm.
and the conscious. And we don't tell them what we perceive energetically. We kind of, through interaction, we channel what we ask them different questions, and they have to perceive it. Because you know as well as I do, you can tell anybody anything and they believe you, but they have to feel it.
Right. They have to have that visceral experience. You have to have that visceral experience yourself in order to really shift it. I mean, you have to own it, and you can't really own it until you experience it and have that really right here for you. That's true.
So that is kind of. And then we have the next process, which is the caged one, and that's where we caged. Yes, a lot of people when I was training wouldn't show up to come to the class. They signed up for it and they didn't go. It was their mistake, but they made all excuses. I couldn't wait to get
And
there.
what was that about?
The cage process is about all the negative stuff that's going in. Anything negative, if somebody said to us that we didn't kind of like when we were children, or told us stuff, we would go into that dark place.
Say that again. When we were children, what would
When we
happen?
were children, if a teacher told us off or scolded us, or we thought that
Or said you're stupid, or said you don't know how to
Exactly.
do this, or
you go into this, they go into this dark place, because they don't want to be seen, because they feel as if they're being criticized and everything like that.
I see. So when you get that criticism, it kind of takes you into a dark place, which I can understand. Mm-hmm.
It can do.
And that's what negativity is.
A
That's
dark
one
place.
part of negativity.
So when that happens, you want them to go into that place, and it's usually painful. And what we do by the process is we take them down the stairs
Okay.
and we kind of give them a wand, a light wand, and see what's going on.
So it's a hypnotic trance you're taking them on. So you put them in a
Absolutely.
hypnotic trance and you have them visualize going downstairs.
And then they kind of find all these different things you put them in different rooms.
The things, these negative
These
things, these
what are they
experiences.
finding? What are they doing? Because this is their inner thoughts.
Okay.
And they can, and then there's, after that, it's basically inner child,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Inner child work.
and which is caged work because you're
I see.
holding that in and you're not being able to be who you really are.
That's what it is. It's inner child work. They call it caged because
Caged
you're
process.
holding
There's
onto
3 processes there.
that. Okay.
And then you can do the rest of it. And then there we have the law of attraction. That's another process.
Okay.
We have 7 spiritual selves, which the 7 spiritual selves are the 7 chakras.
Okay.
It's all interacted. And then we have the androgynous process. It's integrating the male and the female, which is basically the law of attraction. Androgynous, because we are androgynous
We're
being.
all masculine and feminine, all in one body. We're just
Right.
predominantly whatever sex is or gender is
gender
presenting
exactly.
itself.
Exactly. And then we go into constructs, tanks, and vaults. Well, you know what
Tanks
that is.
and vaults.
Constructs,
A construct is something you've created in your mind.
a tank, and the vault.
So the tank is your heart.
Wrong way around.
Oh,
It's a long time since I've done this, Jane. I've trained. No, the construct's our mind,
Okay, right.
and the tank is our lower body,
Okay.
and the vault is our heart because
Okay.
we kind of take it all into our heart. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. So it's constructs and the tanks and the vaults of the heart.
The vault of the heart.
So contracts, vaults, and tanks, if you like.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Interesting. So
And then you go through. You're taken back all these different places, and then afterwards you draw all the rooms that you're taken into.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a lengthy process.
It sounds very, very, very involved. Yeah.
It is very involved, and we're now discovering new ways through understanding what happens, quicker ways of doing this.
Yes.
Because it's an expensive process to go through all this.
Yes, I imagine it's a long time. You
So,
can't do it all in one sitting. You have to do pieces at a time.
So that is a lot of what I've been working on for years now,
Uh-huh.
is working on kind of using light for the chakras and also doing certain processes, hypnotic processes.
Okay.
It's not, a lot of Rohan therapists are hypnotherapists, but it's just an altered state.
I see. So you kind of learn some hypnosis.
Yes,
how
you
to
do.
bring people into a trance.
They touch on a lot of it, and it's really up to you what you choose to
Right.
kind of.
Now,
it's
you have a
whatever-
practice in Bermuda.
I did have a practice. I'm retired now, but I
Oh.
teach more now.
Oh, that's right.
But I do have, yes.
So tell me about your teaching. What are you teaching?
Well, I teach light energy and vibrations, and I also work with another woman who hasn't finished yet in Bermuda, who has a healing center. We do the kind of Rohan workshops, the group Rohan workshops, where we go through the village, which is the negative and positive selves, and we kind of help people kind of integrate their thoughts, feelings, how they thought they feel, and then introduced the I Am Presence into it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't introduce to people who are not aware. You can't introduce the I Am Presence until they kind of have got their physical functions.
Mm-hmm. Until they've cleaned up their
Yes.
energy field and released some of those blockages or
Absolutely.
those negativity.
Which they can
places.
do, and we encourage them to work on themselves, because there are so many people who want you to do it for them, but basically they are their own healer. We are our own healers.
Yes.
I think you believe that, Jane.
I
too,
do believe that, yes, and let's go on that. We are our own healer. No one can heal us but ourselves, and we need to take that action or take that step or make that commitment to ourselves in order to heal ourselves. That's one of the things I talk about a lot on the show, is why do we go to a doctor? Well, we're giving our power away. going to a doctor expecting this other person to heal us. Well, yes, you may need some help from that person, but you need to be empowered, and that doctor needs to help you, empower you to heal yourself. We are our own healer.
Unfortunately, in today's world, doctors don't have a lot of time.
Right.
They deal with the symptom.
Right.
We deal with the cause.
Right. Exactly. And the cause is always, I hesitate to use the word psychosomatic, but it is in the energy field or in the vibration of what you're creating in a vibrational level before it becomes physical.
Primarily, yes.
Yeah.
And pharmaceuticals, they don't want to kind of do the work. What they want to do is have a quick fix and take a pill.
Right.
But you and I both know when you do that, and before you know it, you take one pill for one thing and you're getting some symptoms, you take another pill. Before you know it, you're over-medicated.
Right.
Medication is predominantly acidic.
Acidic, yes.
And you're kind of making all your symptoms a lot worse.
Simply by increasing the acid balance of your body.
Absolutely. There's a book written by Dr. Condren, Condorn,
Okay.
and Eugene Condren, and it's called Alkalize or Die.
Wow.
It's an extraordinary book, but it keeps it very simple. We as humans like things to be difficult, but it's very simple.
Well, I know. I like things simple, but we do tend to be addicted to
Society kind of
confusing things.
Society dictates that way, doesn't it?
It does. It wants us all to be multitasking and out there and bingity, 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 and you're doing your texting, and then you're doing this over here, and then you're doing that and that over here. You're driving, But we're not made to do it that way. We're human beings. We're made to do one thing at a time and do one thing well.
Exactly.
So alkalize or die. Now, that has a lot to do with what you put into that has everything to do with what you put into your body, which is not only food, but the stressors, what you're putting in through your eyes and your ears and your senses.
Absolutely.
What's causing the stress in all
we have
ways.
We have photographic memories.
Right.
So what we see, it kind of comes into us.
Right, and that was something I was talking about on the show, I think last week or the week before. It's something that they've actually discovered is these neuron cells that are called mirror cells, and that's what it is. That's what creates the photographic memory. Is they're actual cells that are mirroring what we're seeing and putting it in our brain and holding on to it. So they're called mirror cells, and that's what gives us that photographic memory.
Exactly.
Especially of stressful situations or happy situations too, but like when you have
happy situations are okay.
Yeah.
But the media, I hesitate to say it on TV, but the media, they put on people don't want to know about happy things. They want to know about doom and gloom and everybody else's problems. The news kind of portrays everything negative.
It does. It doesn't talk about anything.
There's movies out there which are horrific movies. Can you imagine young kids looking at these movies, what they're perceiving about life?
Right.
And why do we have so much kind of crime in this with these young kids in it? Because they're watching these movies.
Exactly, and it's being ingrained in their physiology of their neurological of their brain.
Of course it
through
is.
these cells that are holding on to it.
We don't need. We know this thing that goes on in the world, and we're very, kind of compassionate about it. But we don't need to watch it every day because it affects us physically, because it comes into our energy field.
It does, and it's a vibration. It's moving. It's
Absolutely.
And it's bringing our vibration down to a lower level, to being unhealthy.
It's keeping us kind of stuck.
It is, and that's not where we want to be. If you want to be healthy and happy and living your life fully, we want to be up high and vibrating on a higher light level, the level of light, while at the same time being grounded in the earth. So we want the groundedness, but we also want to be happy.
Exactly, Jane.
And healthy.
It's so important. Because then we live almost a hermit's life, and sometimes that's better.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to be functional, so we have to interact with people.
Right.
But the thing is, we do have a choice. We can choose who we need to interact with.
Right. choice is a huge thing.
And there's a time to keep your mouth closed, and there's a time to open it if anybody's interested.
Right.
But nobody wants to be told what to do.
Correct.
I've learned that one hard.
So have I. So have I. It's not the place that I want to go. And being a shy person, that's kind of probably what made me more of a shy person. Was in the early years of my life. Is the few times that I might have given an opinion, it made me close down even more because it wasn't appreciated or it was the wrong opinion or something.
It's very difficult. So that's what I'm talking about, this inner child, because it's what we did as children. And if we don't kind of clear that out of our system, something happens, an adult, and we still take it on until we know differently.
Right. Now, do you have any technique that you could share with the audience around maybe one thing that you could share with them that they could do to assist in this opening up to the light of their inner child?
One of the things I would love to say, but I probably better, is we talked about the photographic memory.
Yes.
This is the kind of pituitary gland.
The pituitary, yes.
So many people have problems these days in sleeping.
Right.
Well, when they're watching TV before they go to bed, or if they're on an iPad or a Kindle, that light is projecting right into them. So the brain thinks it's daylight. So they turn it off and they expect to go to sleep.
Ah. Oops. How can you go to sleep when you've activated your light sensors in your pituitary gland, is what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's melatonin and serotonin?
Exactly.
So
the serotonin is the kind of the happy kind of hormone.
Okay.
So we need
we like
to
our serotonin.
Absolutely. One of the things to take, which is natural, is melatonin. You can't take too much of it.
Oh, okay.
It's not addictive.
Now,
and
what does melatonin?
What it does is it closes down the kind of the light coming in, and it encourages. It's a balance with the serotonin, so you can go to sleep.
Okay.
But if before you go to bed, if you're watching television or you're watching something negative, or you're on an iPad and even if you're reading, even if the reading is kind of metaphysical, kind of spiritual, whatever you like, that light is still shining right here. And you're not going to sleep.
So what would be the best way to go to sleep? What would be the best practice?
Well, one of the things I've learned at Delphi was to put some kind of really kind of soft music on.
Okay.
Not look at the iPad before you go to sleep. And I take melatonin.
Oh, you do?
I do.
And so what is soft music for you? What is your kind of music?
Well, it is basically more, not classical, but kind of a lot of the Armitage music. Are you familiar with that?
Armitage?
Paul Armitage music. It's
Paul
kind
Armitage.
it's channeled music, and it's kind of very
Etheric.
soft, and yes, it's very etheric.
Okay.
And I find it's very, because where do we go when we sleep? Up into the etheric body, up into the light.
True. Well, that's really a good idea. Have you heard of any of Tom Kenyon's music?
I've heard the name. I'm not sure if I've heard the music.
His music is channeled in through his voice. So
Brilliant.
I'm not sure. Yeah, would that be good to go to sleep on or not?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So some type of etheric music, and with no words, then probably.
Music, because the music will it calms the brain anyway.
Okay.
And you're listening to it, whereas you're getting it through one of your senses.
Right.
But you're not being kind of bombarded with light.
Right. Okay.
Not saying that light isn't good in the daytime.
Right.
But it's at
Very
night when you
important.
want to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm. When you want to go to sleep? Yeah. How many
You
of
want
us?
to go to sleep.
I've been sleeping well lately, but I've had bouts of times when I've tossed
have
and
I.
turned. So that's a good thing. And I usually like to read before I go to sleep. I have books next to my
Well, that's
bed.
better than the light, because you can read, then you get full. A lot of people read when they go to sleep. They don't sit with then a lot of people will read on a Kindle. Well, there you've got the light coming in.
Right.
But then I get people that say to me, but everybody does it. I said, everybody does it. Well,
if everybody's not sleeping, I guess, or sleeping well, or
who knows?
who knows? Yeah.
Well, it depends what I don't know.
That was a very good practice to
But
think about.
make small changes. Nobody's going to make a big change.
Right, small changes. Like
And
one,
if
that
they
one, that's
feel-
one small change that would be very beneficial.
And if they feel better and they sleep better, then they explore another.
Right, and they say that sleep is our most important thing to do for, I forget the word, but that sleep is more important than eating or drinking or anything
Absolutely.
else.
Because you're kind of rejuvenating your body.
Right.
You're regenerating your body every time you sleep. And there's people that say, "Oh, I don't sleep very well when I'm older," because their mind is going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can't. And I watch television and fall asleep. Well, you're lucky to fall asleep watching television. If I did, I wouldn't fall asleep.
It would keep you going.
Well, okay, yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
we're all different, aren't we? We're all very unique,
we are.
unique human
Of
beings.
course we are. And you know, people say, as you get older, you don't need as much sleep. I think it's poppycock because
I think it's
we
the opposite.
actually- because we actually need more sleep when we're older.
Mhm.
Because our physical body is older, and it's got more hard work to do than the younger ones.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to take more care when we're getting older, not less.
Right. So more sleep is better.
Absolutely.
At least 8 hours of sleep a day is important.
Yes, and most people don't have that.
No, we don't put it in our schedule. You have to get up. I know I lots of times I don't go to bed till after 11, and I need to get up at 6, and so there's 6 or 7.
And then it takes a while to go to sleep because your mind is thinking, what am I doing the next day or what, everything like that. Whereas the music
Mm-hmm.
does take you down because if it's soft music, it automatically puts you in that space, like
Right.
music of the higher spheres.
Music
which
of
is
the higher spheres. Music of the higher spheres. The higher spheres. The upper spheres.
absolutely. Now I have 6 grandchildren, and
Oh,
3
yes.
of them are adults. And my and of course they're all texting, and they all have these everything. And my 23-year-old said to me, "Well, Nan, you know, I don't sleep very well at night, so I take melatonin." I said, "Yes, that's great, sweetie." I said, "Well, what time do you go to bed?" "Oh, I don't go to bed that early. After 12, 1 o'clock. She's got to get up the next day to go to work."
Yeah. So
But they don't understand. But everybody else does it, she says. There you go.
there you go. So you can
But
start
she's
a
young.
trend of doing it differently. That's the thing. Start a trend. Do it better for your body. Do it differently.
I probably did that when I was 23. I don't know.
Right. I know. I did too. I was following the norm, following the fads, doing what
Oh,
everyone
yes,
else was
exactly.
doing because that's what
I
everyone
had to.
did.
I had to conform. I had to. You know,
Conformity, yes.
I was one of those sheep that had to follow. You know, I wasn't a black. Actually, I was a black sheep, but.
That was on Dawn's show yesterday. She talked about black sheep, my friend Dawn.
Was that right?
We're all black sheep. I think if you do anything metaphysical, you probably were a member of the black sheep family, because we're off the wall a little bit and trying to come back.
Well,
and
because
back into
society
line.
still wants to conform with what they think the norm is. Well,
Right.
There is no normal.
There is no normal. Exactly. What is normal? There is no normal. What difference does it make? As long as you're not harming anybody or anything, everything is okay. As long as you're taking care of yourself, everything is okay. That's exactly how I feel.
Another negative thought is the controlling self. They want to control everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and we don't need to control anything or everything. Well, Bernice, this has been great talking with you. And
Well, we've deviated all kinds of topics, Jenny,
we have.
haven't
We've
we?
kind of gone around,
All around the world.
all around the world, and all the different things. This has been so much fun. There's so much more to talk about when you come back on the show. If you ever do, maybe I'm not sure because I know you go back to Bermuda and then you'll come back next summer. But anyway, maybe before you go back to Bermuda this time, you can come back on the show in the
If you think
in the
it's a good
fall.
idea.
Yeah,
yes.
we can get more into this, and we're delving into this. It's a lot of fun. You have so much
Well,
good information
there's no point
to
in
share.
being doom and gloom about it. Either people are interested or they're not. You know, you can't
Exactly.
make anybody do anything.
Right, exactly. So thanks for joining us. I'm glad you are here, Bernice, and we'll join us next week when Saul Solomon will be on the show. I'm not Saul, he'll be on the week after. Next week I'll be on the show, and Barb Woolley will be here interviewing me, so that should be a fun time. If you have any questions that you want me to answer, please do email me. You can go on my website and connect in an email. Any questions that you might have that you might want me to answer next show, because nobody seems to want to call in, but you can email me any questions. So then the week after that, Saul Solomon will be here, and then September 11th is going to be a big day here. Steve Wilson and Betty Comerford, they wrote a beautiful book called A Reluctant Empath. They'll be here talking about that book and shamanism. So until then, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. And remember, your heart knows the way. Your heart knows the way.